morning, podcast world. This is Chats with Baba. This is brought to you by the Lighthouse for Academic and Cultural Excellence. My name is James Young. I've reached a point in my life. I'm an elder, if you will. And I take this time to share with the podcast world some information relative to the things that's important in terms of laying the foundation for young children to be successful, not only in school, but also in life. So the purpose of this podcast, as I said, is to inform and to empower parents of young Black children. But I often say it's not limited to Black children. The information is relevant and pertinent to all children. Why do I focus on Black children? Well, as a professor and someone who's been in the trenches for more than 50 years, and what I've learned, I try to share that. And I'm saying that also to say that when we look at the issue of literacy and the foundation for literacy, and once children get in school and what schools test to see if they are knowledgeable, etc., unfortunately, Black children are behind. In reading, math, science, and technology, we are behind. So the idea here is to inform parents that they are the first and foremost teachers in the lives of children. And to inform them is to help them to release the natural genius that's in Black children. We know that Black children have untapped and underdeveloped gifts. So the quality of experience and exposure lays the foundation for life. We want to move from miseducation to education, and our goal is striving for excellence. Now, over the last few weeks, I have shared tips and chats about the teaching of reading and what all that entails. I want to back up a little bit based on an experience that I've had this week and some things that were shared with me as parents. Some hear about the podcast. They also have questions. So today I want to just depart from talking specifically about a content area, but talk a little bit about the importance of understanding ages and stages of where children are. Now, having said that, let me say this. Right now, all of you know, because of the pandemic, we are in uncharted waters. Children are in school this week, they're out the next week. So schools and everybody else is struggling with this in terms of how do we get beyond where we are so that we can provide the important things that go on in school. Again, there's a lot of uncertainty. I try to follow and listen to some information from the science community and try to base decisions on information. Having said that, let's go back to the issue of ages and stages. 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and 5-year-olds are different, more than just a year difference in age. They are different in terms of what their capacities and capabilities are. The one thing I would say to you, parents, is that if you don't do anything else, give them unconditional love. Let me say that again. Give them unconditional love. That your love that you give to them is not based on some conditions of what they do or don't do. It's unconditional. You hear me often reference my 2 children and my grandkids. And children, I call them children, students that I teach at the university. When I teach them, I share with them, I give them what I would normally give to my 2 children. So they get unconditional love from me. I don't say if you pass the test. No, I love you dearly as a student who's matriculating through a program, and I can help you get to the end of the tunnel. So there aren't any conditions attached to my feelings for them. Certainly they have to perform certain tasks in the class to demonstrate that they're getting the knowledge, skills, and disposition. But caring for them is not contingent upon them doing that. Those are separate things. So I'm saying that to say that it's important that your children sense from you, unconditional love. And caring for children is a part of that. The most challenging task on the face of the earth, as far as I'm concerned, is parenting. It's full of challenges, it's full of rewards, and it's full of surprises. And it's the surprises that keeps us interested. It's important that as your children are growing and developing new skills, that you are observant of the changes in their growth, the changes in their development, the changes in their learning. And that comes about depending upon where they are at different ages and different stages. All children progress through those same periods, but they go through it differently. They go through it based upon the exposure and the experience. You often hear me say that with young children, they look at you and the feedback from your facial expressions communicates some things to them. So as they are unfolding in this developmental process, it's important that you have some understanding how they differ at the different ages and stages. Now, this is not a personal chat. This is based upon the years that I've taught children in school, the years that I've worked in childcare, the years that I provide technical assistance and training, the years of conducting workshops all over the country with parents, the years of writing, the years of researching. So I extrapolate, that is, I take from that the best of what I think I've learned and share that with you in these weekly chats. It's about knowledge about where children are in their growth and development. It's about the kinds of things that you as a parent can do, and so forth and so on. Historically, children were seen as little people, but over the years, many giants in the field have studied. We basically raise children in terms of how we were raised. That's what we generally do. But as one of the elders at the church said, if we know better, we should do better. So one of the things that I try to share with you is the information on the development of stages and the behaviors that you can expect and see in your children at different points of their development. For example, when they're born, they have all of the elements that's important for them to acquire language. But language comes as they are growing and developing. We know that babies babble. That babbling eventually turns to language. During this process, it doesn't mean that you're not talking or reading to them. Their capacity to intake language is based upon what they hear. You're talking to them, you're holding them, you're constantly speaking to them. They are watching the movement of your mouth, what comes out, and so forth and so on. So when they move from infancy to toddlerhood, they are acquiring all of the necessary skills to speak. And as they get from one stage to another, their language gets better. I guess all I'm trying to say is recognize the difference from a 2-year-old to a 3-year-old, and so forth and so on. And it helps that there's so much information now that wasn't there years ago. There are doctors, pediatricians, other social scientists who spend their lives and careers understanding what the capacity of children is. You're not trying to make adults out of them, children. And we try to understand all of what they are developing as they go through the various ages and stages. One of the important parts is basic trust. This is a human quality, and it is an emotional quality. It is a bonding that is you and the child in terms of attachment, and it's instinctive. It's not, you can't follow a recipe or a formula. It's something that naturally occurs. The child learns that his or her needs are being met based upon this bond of trust and how you respond. The child learns how to respond based upon your responding. And I'm not. I hope that's not just gibberish. We as you as mothers learn to distinct the different cries: a cry of hunger, a cry of thirst, a cry of the diaper needs changing. And so in responding, that is a bond of trust that's being built between you and the baby. So I hope all of this makes sense, because as we are progressing through the various stages, the whole notion of trust is being played out. There is no recording of it. There is no record of it. But in the child's head, in his or her head, the issue of trust is being recorded in some form or fashion. And they are developing and growing in accordance to where they are. Now, one of the exciting things is that that we can notice is their physical growth and their physical development. We see them getting larger. We see them eating more. What we don't see is what's going on in their heads. But it's back to those bonds of trust. It's back to how you respond. It's back to when you're communicating with them. It's back to when you're reading to them. It's back to your touch. All of these things are instinctive to children, and it's almost like, that's a good touch. That's a good feeling. So it's an emotional attachment that's taking place there. So I hope these little tips are the things that's critical in order to get to the teaching of literacy. You just don't sit them down and say, well, this is a time I'm going to teach you. It's instinctive, it's natural, and as you transition, go from one thing to the next, children have a sense of those things that enable them to respond to you in a way that says that this is a trusting relationship. Now, having said that, it's important then that we get down to the reading, to the language, to those things that's going to, again, provide for them the exposure and the experiences as they are progressing through the various ages and stages. And again, unconditional love, no matter what. So with that, I just wanted to leave you with those thoughts today, as we continue the weekly podcast. So going back to next week, I will get back to the fundamentals of letting them know that this is a bond that is to be unbroken, and no matter what, they will always have you in their corner. So this is Baba. Have a great week and a productive year.